Hey guys, in this video we're going to be talking about using a food mill, and specifically I'm going to be showing you how to use a food mill correctly for your tomatoes when you're making any type of tomato based pasta sauce. Now I like to mix things up a bit. Sometimes I don't really use a food mill because I want a more like rustic feel to tomato sauce, but in the case for today when I'm making this tomato sauce I want a smooth sauce. But I don't want to use store-made passata, and I also don't want to use diced tomatoes. I want to use whole peeled tomatoes, and you can even do this with fresh tomatoes, but they're not in season where I live at the moment, so my only option is really to use canned tomatoes. Now, as you can see, unfortunately, because of the whole global pandemic that we're going through, I can only find certain brands of cans of tomatoes, and that's why I have a bit of a mix of them. I'm using 5 canned tomatoes. 5 cans of tomatoes today. They are both whole but peeled, but I want to use the food mill to make them into a smooth texture. The good thing about using a food mill is that they remain dense and rich, whereas if you use a mixer or like a Vitamix or a blender, you're going to turn that into a different product. And I want to maintain the really good flavors of the tomatoes but still make them smooth, and that's why a food mill is so good. So you can see the smaller holes on the back of this. That's gonna allow the actual pulp and the tomatoes to pass through without allowing the skin and the seeds to pass through, because that's something I want to avoid. So I'm just gonna put this on top of a bowl, and then I'm gonna bring the camera a bit closer. Give your tomato tins a shake. Open them up. And then just pour straight into the mill. I'm gonna do 2 cans at a time here, so give it a shake again, open that up, and you can see that these are like whole peeled tomatoes in here. They're 2 different brands, but as I said before, what can you do when you're in the situation you're in, right? So literally just all you gotta do is just spin it around, and then all those tomatoes will automatically get processed through the food mill. Give it a shake. Once you get to a certain point, you can just add the next couple of cans. I've got a total of 5 cans going in today. Now with these food meals, the smaller ones that you buy to use at home, you might have to help them along a little bit. The ones that are used in commercial kitchens tend to be quite a bit bigger, and they're a little bit easier to use because they have like more room where the tomatoes can actually pass through, because of the sheer size difference in the tools. Okay, so 1 more can to go, and as you can see, you got the buildup of all the seeds and all the skin up on the top here. Let's see if I can bring it closer. Okay, and that's exactly what we want. We want to separate the big chunks of skin and seeds from the more of kind of like the tomato puree that we're after. And as you can see, you can only do it to like a certain point before you kind of have to start taking the actual pulp out. But we are just about good to go with these 5 here. Now this is not something that you should throw out, okay? You can keep this to, if you're making a rustic sauce along the way, you can throw this in, or you can throw it in your sauce to just incorporate with the sauce you're making now, because you still get that nice and pureed form, as well as these more bigger parts and a bit more texture in your sauce. But that's it for that one there. Now here comes another important step that you make sure you do not forget. I'm gonna grab a spatula, and if you look underneath here, you can see there's lots of good stuff on here. This is like the best part, okay? So you want to make sure you get all of that into the bowl as well. And that is how easy it is to use a food mill to make your own like tomato passata or tomato puree at home, without kind of ruining the actual flavor and the characteristics of using the tomatoes, which will happen if you blend them in a Vitamix or a blender, and that's something that you want to avoid at all costs. And this is much better than using passata from the store or using diced tomatoes, because you don't get any of the seeds or any of the skins in there. You can do this with fresh tomatoes as well if they're in season. That's a really good option. This was the case for me. I didn't have anything in season, so this is what I do in winter time. Okay, so if you don't have one already, you can click the link in the description below and check one out for yourself. And you definitely should have one of these in your kitchen, and they're a really good tool to have for a few different things. You can do so many different things with these, and it's not limited just tomatoes. You can use them for so many different things on top of that. So that's it for this one, guys. I will see you in the next video.